On va démarrer cette dernière séance du colloque.
We're going to start with our last session. It's a roundtable talking about the future of research in the map sector. So to conclude this roundtable, we have called Gino. He's in charge of 𝗍𝗂𝗄𝗧. He was in charge, he was CEO. Now he's in charge of 𝗍𝗂𝗄𝗧 Valley. It's been going on since 2018. No need to remind you how important it is for the iteipmai to be part of this hub that really creates a great network for dissemination of our works. Gino, you are the chairman, and you used to be deputy chairman in the agricultural chamber in the region. So you're a key stakeholder of the economic ecosystem and the political one as well in our sector. This is why we rely on you to moderate this roundtable. Your position in 𝗍𝗂𝗄𝗧 gives you a great knowledge of the value chain. You also know the notion of innovation and innovations to come, and the market from production to marketing. So you will tell us more about 𝗍𝗂𝗄𝗧, and then I will let you moderate and lead the discussions. Good afternoon. Just to tell you about this hub. As any competitiveness hub, its main job is to promote exchanges between research stakeholders, company players, and research and studies and teaching stakeholders. We all know the great issues: ecological transition, climate change, food safety, and so on. A competitiveness hub aims at developing innovation. Innovation is often thought as something highly technical and technological, but in our hub we integrate every type of innovation. And what was said previously in terms of CSR is part of innovation. So we try to support every type of innovation, from the plant to the company management, the employees, and any project that can be organization innovation, marketing innovation, and so on. Our hub has worked with 1,500 projects from its members. We have 1,700 members, and it's great to work with such members to build the plant sectors of the future. Some people work on the value chain of the plant sector, and I see great similarities between this roundtable and our board of directors. You could all be members of the board of 𝗍𝗂𝗄𝗧. We're all going to look into research because it's key for our future, and research is what will allow us to solve most of the issues we have to face. We've talked a lot about research works that are ongoing and developments that are going on as well further to these studies, because we have to take our studies and researches to the point of new developments. If you are a producer coming here, you are expecting solutions that work, that can be implemented in the field, either to be more efficient or to be more competitive. This is why we are so pleased to have with us a representative from the research field, the academic fundamental research from the INRAE. You are our first guest. I will start from the right-hand side. It's not what we had planned, but I'll do it this way. Then we'll move on to applied research from the 𝗟𝗏, who's already introduced himself because he already talked to us about artificial intelligence, and he told us how much it could help the agricultural sector, including maps. And Michel Manœuvrier, who's chairman of the interprofession. And we're going to listen to what you are expecting from the research world. And how do you see research today and its role in our sector? And there can be no research without finances. So we'll hear Marie-Noël Lebera, who's representing the Ministry for Agriculture in charge of several projects, including R&D. My first question is to Laurent. Laurent, we all know you. You've been our key speaker several times. Why did you choose this conclusion topic?
Pourquoi avoir choisi le thème 2?
Why did I choose research as a conclusion topic? Well, because it's iteipmai's job, really, to do research. I don't know how to answer such a question. The point for these Herbalia sessions is, first of all, to let people know what the Institute does and to talk about the issues that we have, from agroforestry to agroecology to biodiversity, down to more technical issues. We spoke of a lot of topics that are important for the future. I don't want to give a conclusion yet, but it's been a very intense couple of days. I don't know how you felt, but somehow, as a producer, this time I'm forgetting my cap of chairman of iteipmai, but as a producer, I'm really wondering, what will agriculture be like tomorrow? What about farming in the future? The potential is huge. The assignments, the mission, the responsibility on our shoulder is huge. And through these meetings, we wanted to bring all that to the fore to really think together on what we want for the future in terms of research. We need to know where to go and what light to shed on the future. We need to tackle various challenges, and this is for the researchers to tackle. Let's start with you. What type of cooperation, tangible cooperation, can you see between public research, technical institutes, and professional representatives? Of course, I will answer your question, but let me start by lifting a misunderstanding. Researchers are not here to find solutions. The job of researchers is not to come up with solutions, it's to come up with knowledge. And between knowledge and solutions, it's a whole different world. There's a huge world in between. Researchers have to look where no one has looked before, maybe finding strange results, or it can look like a waste of time. Why are they looking into this or that? They're not down to earth. Let me give you an example. There was an article a couple of days back in the newspapers regarding immunology. Generally speaking, immunology is about medicine. We look at the immune system of mankind and animals. And researchers started to look at, because now we can look into genomic databases very easily. If you have a question, you look at a genomic of such or such organism to see if something comes up. And they looked at bacteria genomic bases. And we never do that. People working on what we call superior animals, eukaryotes, never look at bacteria genetic databases. Nobody thinks that way. And this is what a researcher is supposed to do. What if? Let's have a look. And then they found something interesting, and then a lot of interesting things. They opened a new pathways. Okay, it's presented as a revolution in the way to think of immune systems. But we didn't think that our immune systems were derived from bacteria evolutions. Of course, at first we get excited, maybe it will lead nowhere, but That's what research is about. This is what we do. And between exploring, identifying new knowledge, and finding solutions, there's a gap. There's a whole world. We can't do it alone. But we have things to bring to the table. And to do so, we have to work between researchers, development specialists, and people in the field. And when everyone in these fields works together, that's how we can find bridges between knowledge and solutions. Just understanding people's problems and bringing to the table the appropriate knowledge that can provide solutions. So the first link in the chain is knowledge, and then we have to bring it to the end user. And it goes through what your neighbor is doing. How does 𝗟𝗏 organize these pathways, if you will, between different institutes? Because you are a network. And how does it work? Yes, in 𝗟𝗏, we have a cap of network manager. We bring together 19 agricultural technical institutes. They are all validated by the ministry that acknowledges this statute of researching work for the public interest, if you will. It was after World War II, we decided to create such technical institutes to come up with solutions for farmers. Agricultural technical institutes aim at finding solutions. That's our assignment. Farmers wanted technological solutions to various problems, and that's the raison d'être of our institutes. There are several different institutes, different size, different subfields. There is research, fundamental research to bring knowledge, and there's, on the other hand, the needs and demands from producers, and we make a bridge between all this. And we also have to make a bridge towards the future to know what will be necessary. Usually we work in 3 to 5 year spans, like what was presented this morning. The 𝗟𝗏 aims at a 5-year study. And the point is to bring together inside a network people from the research world, people that can develop solutions, and people who will use these solutions and who have needs that they have submitted. We want to anticipate also issues that are arising in the next few years. That was to, clarify what we do as a technical institute. And our specificity within 𝗟𝗏 is that we also coordinate different fields. And we can actually have transversal studies and work issues that are collectively needed. And we bring together research projects that can be of interest for different institutes and different fields. For instance, the digital issues and supporting the transition towards new digital tools is part of what our sector needs. It's part of a full cross-institute, as we call them, program that is supported and financed by the CASDAR. The money comes from the turnover of farms. So it's both working on field issues and policy-making issues. Let me give you an example. With the digital world, there are several issues, climate change, protecting crops, with all the plant institutes. This is a transversal or cross-disciplinary issue that we are working with other partners. As a partner of the new interprofession and as a personally involved entrepreneur, what do you want to tell research people? We heard Mr. Lanoux saying that someone in the research field became bold enough to look at something that was not his field of specialty, like the bacteria immune system. What are your expectations in the field of research? How can you imagine working with the research world within the interprofession on the one hand and as a professional yourself? For the interprofession, it is being organized. It's brand new. I keep listening to everyone's issues. I hear what people are saying. Our job will be to prioritize them and to try one way or the other to find answers for producers and for all stakeholders. The interprofession is not a magic wand. It's not going to solve everything and find answers to everything tomorrow. But the job of our interprofession is to highlight what arises from the different stakeholders. Yes, we have a lot of regulatory problems, but there are other issues. And that's how altogether, because it's a comprehensive interprofession, we'll have to find solutions and ways to evolve together in the same direction. Regarding research, when I started, there was no such thing. It was not an issue. I am getting old. I'm one of the first trainees in the 𝗕𝗔𝗍 experimental station. So I lived through research in our sector. I've been in the board of directors of the iteipmai. I'm still a member. We often complain, but in terms of research, we can't complain that much. We have a lot of fundamental research, applied research. We have an institute dedicated to our sector. It's not that usual. No other country has the equivalent. Switzerland is not badly equipped. But when our researchers want to find collaborators in other countries, they struggle to find any dedicated to our field. So supporting our sector is also not becoming delirious. The point is to keep things down to earth: genetics, selection, protection of crops. Because now I'm in a different place. When I see what's being done in France, what we have at our disposal, what made us evolve. We talked about carbon footprint, for instance. Just the mental selection in a plant could actually help us divide our carbon footprint by 2 because we can optimize our processes. And you don't find this anywhere else. So we should be proud. We should keep supporting our institutes when they study in this direction. We can't just we can't just... I'm not saying delirious in a bad way, but we can't just dream and take it into every direction at once. We have to remain down to earth. We have human skills, we have equipment, and we have to keep capitalizing. We have to keep optimizing. The interprofession will be there when needs be to get organized and work in this direction. So firstly, it's a place to express needs collectively, and secondly, to support researchers in their needs in understanding our sector. Now, Marie-Bénédicte Perrin. In the different works that were presented, a lot of actions were financially supported by the ministry. At the national level, we have a rural and agricultural development plan that's coming to an end. What are the first lessons learned from this plan, and what is the future? Thank you.
Merci. Donc, le 𝗠𝗏𝗏, un programme national.
So the 𝗠𝗏𝗏, the Rural and Agricultural Development Plan, to explain to you what it is, it's the backbone of our R&D strategy within the Ministry for Agriculture. There is an ongoing program from 22 to 27. We had two key objectives with sub-issues. Our two key objectives were food sovereignty and the support towards transitions, within which you have 9 pillars: health in animal herds, health in plants, etc. And all that amounts to the 𝗠𝗏𝗏 program. This program is funded by the 𝗓𝗏𝗏, so a tax on agricultural turnover, which finances the call for tenders and call for bidders, that exist. And also it was planned by the ecologic planification, France 2030, and such programs. So this 𝗠𝗏𝗏 program ends in 27, and we'll have to think collectively at what we want to do for the period of 2028 to 2032. We can't tell you right now. Some of you are very much involved in designing the follow-up. What we started with doing is a mid-term evaluation of the program, and this is now, 2025. So we've reached the first conclusions. What are they, these conclusions? Well, institutes are involved. We have a great wealth in productions, but we need to increase the transversal aspect, or the crossing between sectors. We have 3 main networks involved, with technical institutes, Chamber of Agriculture, and the ANDAs. Mehdi has talked a lot between ACTA and several technical institutes that can share, actually, views and research projects. But the assessment that we did midterm for all our pillars proved that different pillars are not working with each other. So we'll have to strengthen exchanges between Chamber of Agriculture, in technological institutes, and so on. Mehdi, do you agree? Can you feel that? Do you have explanations? I will hand back the mic afterwards, but indeed, ACTA aims at having communication between various institutes, but we also have transversal actions with 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, the Chamber of Agriculture. We have also a research dedicated cell. We have networks that bring together, for certain topics, various stakeholders, agricultural cooperation, several entities. There are existing things, but it would be an idea to strengthen these connections. I think we shouldn't forget certain stakeholders that are left aside. Private and economic stakeholders tend to be left aside, and maybe we don't activate these levers enough. When I see the competitiveness hub, they're giving me a bad look. But Maybe public sector and private sector should work more jointly. It should be developed to have a stronger impact because we all want the same thing, to have a positive impact. And this is what the Ministry of Agriculture keeps telling us. We have to prove that we have an impact, how to measure it as well. We have to prove that we're useful, that it's important, and by joining with the private sector, it will probably work better. Back to you. Also, the pen-DAR is going to base its reflection with the conclusions of the midterm evaluation, but also entrusted an external consulting agency to have, well, ACTA, which is part of the steering committee of this evaluation, but we want this evaluation to come out as a report by the end of next year so that we can use it to write the following project, 2028-2033. It is a legal obligation. We have to include every stakeholder in the writing, the design of this next pen-DAR planification. So everything's organized and planned. Do you have yourself in the ministry expectations to submit to technical institutes? Yes, of course, we have specific expectations. We, as Mehdi said, technical institutes are in between the knowledge production and applied research. But we have the specificity of technical institutes. Not many member states have integrated technical institutes like the INRAE, and they have a very great role to play, and we have expectations with these institutes. They need to be coordinated. They need to take the knowledge and, well, to talk with the upstream and the downstream of the entire sector. We want them to take part to different boards. We want them to do networking. And we really expect a lot from them to decide all the SARGA legislation. One of them is about agricultural teaching, to include transitions, to teach people how to produce, students need to learn how to produce in alternative methods to produce the farmers of the future. We also have expectations on associated experts, which are mentioned in the legislation. The expertise from these technical institutes has to be available for our appointed experts. So we have expectations on knowledge because it's about research. We expect a lot from them in terms of transfer and innovation. I found what I was looking for. The sovereignty and transition priority plans, that's the acronym I was looking for. And together with these institutes, it's about coordinated, and it's included in the legislation anyway, so we will have structuring focuses with several year plans and millions of euros engaged. Back to the co-designing research programs, how does it feel to you? How is it organized in your entity? Co-designing with partners is key. So I would like to thank you for what you said about research. We are being challenged, even in terms of our usefulness and our necessity to exist. I forgot what we talked about before. Oh, what did you say? Delirious? Well, we claim that our research has to be a rational delirium. Let me give you another example to be more clear. Do you all know the PCR? To study genes. It can be used for vaccination purposes, by CSI. And the point is to multiply DNA at high temperature. And to do so, you need a special enzyme that makes it possible. And how do we know this enzyme? Because back in the day, a researcher went to fool around in geysers. No one was interested in what he was doing. It was a waste of time, of money. But thanks to him, we came up with this enzyme that makes PCR possible today. So I don't want you to think that we are all crazy scientists. We are actually serious people. But researchers actually have at heart to look at issues, well, as far as we're concerned, farming. But I raised troops in the INRAE to comply with the planification, the ministry planification. But when you go to labs to explain what's to be done, when we explain this is the issue at stake and people need knowledge and answer to their questions, labs are always saying, let's go. And it's all about organization. People agree to get on board, but then we need to navigate the boat. And money comes different funders, and we have to coordinate all that. But we want to find solutions to be useful. But what I was saying is that we don't bring solutions in the way that on our own we don't make anything. So to answer your question, and sorry, my document on the phone turned off, but we need to be able to work with other partners. I don't like the notion of transfer. It's very downhill, where it should be circular. It's not vertical, it's circular. We have issues that interest us. We want to find solutions, but we need to have ideas from the bottom, from the top, from the left, from the right. We need to learn from everywhere to find where to look. It's a virtuous circle. I'm always really interested when I look at a parcel. I talk with farmers. It keeps me grounded so that I'm not just dreaming. But to work together, we need places. And it's not that often that we meet. We don't meet every day. And we need time. I don't know if you've noticed, but everybody's always too busy. Everything's always for yesterday. And I remember a colleague from the Institute, they wanted to talk about an urgent matter, but they didn't have time and they wanted a solution. 1 year later, she asked me the same question, saying, it's urgent, we need to find a solution. And I say, well, let's sit down and talk about it. We need time. These are complex issues. We need debates. We need to write them down and to share. If not, nothing will happen. We can't work. So we need to sit down together. And for the, recent past, something was created that I think is great to do so, giving us means, space, and time. It's the 𝗏𝗏. We had an example of the 𝗏𝗏 given to us this morning. It's a great lever. It's a great tool that I would like to thank the public fundings for enabling it. They give money to the sector to practice R&D, research, and development. So on the one hand, you need time and space to find the freedom to find knowledge that will then be useful today or in the future. So it's about legitimizing your research. And that comes from the ability of other players to be able to play with your results. And you also talked about time. And very often, the scarcity of time in producing knowledge is not the same as the urgency of finding solutions. When I talked about spaces, I meant places to meet. We talk about the time for research, which is the long term or mid-term. Researchers can mobilize knowledge rapidly to find solutions to issues. If you bring up practical issues, you never start from scratch. We are not going to reinvent the wheel. we won't start from scratch to invent PCR again. It's already been done. We don't have everything, but we may already have a lot of things. So the point is not to start from scratch, it's to mobilize the existing knowledge that's already in our shelves, and then to get organized to find the very few pieces of knowledge missing to find a solution. So you need to produce knowledge that's very long, and then you have the availability process of this knowledge that can be much shorter if people take time to write down things and talk. Yes, it's an interesting answer because we tend to play guilt trips on the researchers. So yes.
So this knowledge production is useful in the agricultural world, but in your work, have you any ideas, given the field in which we're all in, have you any ideas of actions, important elements that are being put in place and you feel immersed, and is it going to help you respond to the challenges within the field? I would say no and yes. This is a very honest response. In 𝗟𝗂, we're not working on all the plant species. The number of species is extremely rich. It's like fruit and veg, you know, there are very many species. We don't have the means to work on all of them. We tend to work on a small number of species because obviously there's a lack of means as well. So we've had to hunker down and really focus on fewer species. When you can't do that, we can't do the extraordinary work on many species now. We have to restrict it. So we're working with restricted species in the plant world. However, there are two ways of responding to the question you asked. You can create links. You can talk about these meeting spaces. That could be through the UMTs or the RMTs, but it also begun through technical answers, where you have perhaps somebody working in a lab for one salary or the equivalent. You're giving people access to an entire lab with the information, the grey cells, the equipment, the matter. And I think whatever the plant, you can have somebody coming to do molecular biology, or whether you're working on, you know, something, or you're working on basil, what does it change? And another way of responding is to say, once again, for 𝗏𝗏𝗏, we have cross-cutting programs. We have two ways of responding to 𝗏𝗏𝗏 in 𝗟𝗂, and that is to participate in projects which are spearheaded by the branch on one or two particular species, and we collaborate, obviously, although you have other programs that we put together ourselves which are cross-cutting across the different branches and fields and the markets that you've agreed, the agreements that you've agreed is that we're going to have cross-cutting programs, because if we don't, we would have had to do projects branch by branch, and we'd never be able to do that. So we said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to do cross-cutting projects, interdisciplinary ones, and we commit to applying to everyone. We're going to do research that's going to implicate and interest everyone. For example, weeds. When we work on weeds, we include MAPs. And that wasn't necessarily the case at the beginning, because most people working with us are used to working on arable crops. No, we said, no, we're going to have to respond to everyone, which means including those making wine, those dealing with maps, etc. You talked about interdisciplinary and the interdisciplinary nature of things, the cross-cutting nature of things. I'd like to hear what you think. As you in a hub, do we have any cross-cutting dimensions to this intersector profession? We saw it yesterday with Logitech. How do you work? How do you work with other universities, with other sectors? Not well enough, I'm sure. But if I look at the digital world, we saw with the other presentations that we had this morning, particularly the person who talked about what we could do today with drones and AI, you can see that this type of technology is developing. I'm not sure it's being developed specifically for agriculture. It's not agriculture that's going to allow it to have a real sort of, place in the industrial chain of innovation. However, agriculture is going to be able to benefit from this. So the digital world, for us in the ACTA, is extremely important. It allows the smallest institutes, and I would put iteipmai in the family of smaller institutes. It allows them to benefit from innovation that is going to be spearheaded by bigger groups and bigger markets. I'm not sure that I am responding correctly to this idea of intersector, but I think we're going to be pulled forward by what's happening in the defense industry, by the medical world, by the health world. And all that is going to trickle down into our sector because we have this capability with institutes and people working in development to make sure that the needs arise and that we're part of the chain. It's important to make sure needs are fed up the scale and see what's being done in terms of innovation out in the field. And if we're able to reply to questions which are very real based on what's happening on a daily basis, and we need to base our answers on practical solutions, ones that can be used again and again, that can be rolled out. They've got the 3 U's. And you have to be useful, easily used, and having been used, you have to look in other sectors and see what's happening. We're in the technical field. What's happening out there in terms of innovation? How is it trickling down and how can it benefit us? And clearly, AI and the digital world give us an example of that. And you talked about the structure in development in the agricultural world. So this is an applied sector in terms of solutions. Madame 𝗵𝗏, when we talk about maps, how do you see your role and what is going to be your role in articulating this subject and talking to people in this large family? Well, for the ministry, it's perhaps a small field or a small domain, but they've very much known how to organize themselves because there's a referenced institute today, and it's not easy to get the proper referencing, the certification for an institute. So that's quite an achievement. Now, what do we expect from these institutes? Well, in terms of value, we want to look at the economic references, building with partners, technical references, and we're also very happy with the Institute because you look at everything they've been able to do in the last few years. You have to say it's very present in the 𝗏𝗏, even if all the projects haven't been accepted. You've got roughly 16 million euro in 𝗏𝗏. I'm not going to give you a whole litany of figures, don't worry, but we do. In the annual programme, we've got a great deal of success when it comes to call for tender. It shows that there's a good organization in place with a strategy which allows the sector to act very much like the bigger institutes and respond to the problems within the field. I know that time is marching on. I've just caught your eye. You're staring at me, and I can see that we're running out of time. So I'd like to ask Laurent now. When you've heard the discussions over the last 2 days, and particularly what you've heard this afternoon, what do you take from this? What lessons can be drawn? Are you happy with what's been done with the role of the Institute? Are we performing well? Are you reassured? The future is ahead of us. You're the president of the Institute. I'm being familiar with you because we know each other for quite some time, and I'm finding it hard to use the vous form of the verb. So how do you envisage the future for the Institute, say in 2035? Oh, well, it's difficult. Well, maybe I'll start by talking about the comments that we've heard and say that the situation, well, where we are, it's not pure chance if we are where we are. It's the history of an entire branch, and you heard it before from Michel, to create the Institute. Why? Because we have some specificities. We're multi-species, multi-use. And if you want to tick all the boxes of another institute, it was too complicated. We really had to have our own one. And I would say there's the facility, the cross-cutting aspect. Well, we've got it. We are ticking most of the boxes. The fact that being very diverse means that we are dealing with partnerships and programs with other institutes in breeding and farming, in the vines. That highlights the interest of these plants in the health sector, whether this be animal, plant, or human. The field of possibility is large. What I'd also like to say about the Institute, if we are where we are today, it's thanks to the members. We built the Institute on the back of members. We followed the wishes of the members, and that's really the living force of the Institute today. And if you want to link that to the perspectives of tomorrow's world, well, the 𝗟𝗂𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗏 meetings are a starting point for dialogue with the board of directors. We are committed. You've seen, as with 𝗟𝗂𝗏, we've got very little visibility on the work that we have to do, but we are very lucky to have the financing. But all that means that for the future, we're not going to stop there. We're going to take advantage of the situation, or to just take a step back and look what's happening, look what will be happening, what research will be necessary in 5 years, 10 years, and what subjects are going to be important. And the 𝗟𝗂𝗵𝗵𝗏 meetings, it's kind of a launching pad, because we've talked about a great many subjects over the last 2 days: agroecology, agroforestry, etc., biodiversity, all the subjects which were very scientific and very technological. So vast remit in our discourse. Now we need to get round the table, and we're going to talk to you, the members. We're going to call upon you so that you can tell us what's important for tomorrow's research. Knowledge which is produced, the Institute is there to use that knowledge and to try and formalize them so that they can be applied on our farms. In the questions I heard it, we talked about the economic side for companies. You have to find a certain harmony amongst all of these aspects, and research has to be applied. It must listen to its members. We must listen to the members and the producers also, in order to be there to bring solutions to the table, and solutions that are viable. It's extremely complex. I'm coming to the end of my career, so it's not me that's going to be directing this tomorrow, or talking about robots or the machines of the future. However, it is tomorrow. It's tomorrow, it's happening, it's coming. We must be ready. You have to think about what tomorrow's farm is going to look like. Is it going to be robot-controlled farming? That's quite frightening. So we have to almost make sure that the human is at the center, and the link, the relationship with the soil is profoundly human. I'm not going to say much more because the work is in front of us. We have a roadmap to draw up, so let's do it. We just have to build it now. Thank you very much. Before handing back to our moderator, I would just like to thank the Institute for having called me here, because I'm an observer, a long-standing observer of the Institute, and I want to say that I find it really a body that is very audacious, looking at balance and finding a balance of boldness and robustness. You're looking at new options, performance, because you're looking at solutions for your members, and robustness, you are really looking at the long term, and I admire that. Thank you very much. Over to you. I thank a round of applause for our participants, and then back to Bruno.